December 10th is Human Rights Day, and this year's theme is Recover Better. But before I talk about our common universal experiences for 2020, I want to share a universal experience I didn't even know I was having. It starts with a saxophonist named Emmanuel DIBANGO, universally known as MANU DIBANGO. He was born in French colonial Cameroon, attended a colonial school, then studied at university in France. In 1972, he dropped a song that reached the American shores the following year. Mama ku, mama sa, mama so makusa, mama ku, mama sa, mama so kusa, mama ku, mama sa, mama so kumisa. Anyway, the following year, 1974, the whole African diaspora was singing the same song and doing the same dance. Brazil, Africa, Europe, America. It was years until I learned about this commonality that we were experiencing. Anyway, in 1982, Michael Jackson adapted those lyrics and used them in Wanna Be Starting Something. Mama say, mama sa, mama kusa. Mama say, mama sa, mama kusa. Anyway, let's move on to 2020. I'll leave a link to the original soundtrack of Salma Kusa in the description below and pin it to the comments. We all shared in the expectations and hopes that this pandemic would only last and inconvenience our lives for, at the worst, a couple of months or so. We all shared in the frustrations of trying to get PPE and TPE, as well as the shortages of hospital staff, the inadequate hospital capacity, and the anti-maskers and super spreaders who exacerbated the problem, not only putting themselves and their loved ones and friends at risk, but particularly the frontline workers who had to deal with the aftermath of their irresponsible behavior. Then there's the anxiety and depression that we've all experienced at some level, especially those who lost their jobs, were furloughed, and for the first time in their lives, a lot of them had to seek financial and nutritional assistance. Let's not forget the businesses, especially the small business owners, who are still struggling like everybody else. What COVID did and the shutdown was it gave the George Floyd murder a captive audience. And nobody could use busyness as an excuse because nobody had any place to go except for the essential and frontline workers. And so with the combination of cabin fever and the outrage, that galvanized a globe of people to protest the systemic racial injustices that have its roots in colonialism and slavery and oppression. And in the United States, certain Supreme Court decisions came down that were conducive to the culture of racism that is a tightly woven thread in the fabric of American society. And so that's why this year's theme is to recover better. And what that means is applying the principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to the recovery efforts. It means ending the discrimination and giving equal opportunity to those who didn't have access to testing, to care, who lived in communities that were most vulnerable. We're talking about Articles 1 and 2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Then there's the need to address the failures that have come to surface and have been exposed during 2020. That means Article 25, adequate standard of living, which includes healthcare and nutrition. Article 26, the right to education, so that all children who had to learn from home had equal access to the classroom by Zoom or whatever medium was being used. Also, we as individuals have an obligation to respect the rights and dignities of others, and that includes wearing a mask during a pandemic because it's going to mitigate the circumstances. The losses that we realize, especially in the United States, are uncalled for. And that brings me to Article 30, which goes to the state's obligations to respect, and fulfill the human rights of its citizens by taking leadership in protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of everyone if affected, which is everybody. And ultimately, what it's going to serve is to make sure that the lives lost to this pandemic will not be in vain.